Hi, my name is Marcus Thompson. I'm an International Student Advisor at the ISSO. I'm going to talk about some things to consider when you approach the completion of your program of study. I'll cover 4 areas. First, we'll talk about the DS 2019 program end date and extending your program. Next, shortening your program end date. Then we'll talk about employment close to and after your program end date. And finally, options when you are completing your program of study. So first I'm going to start by talking about the DS 2019 program end date, and you can find this on your DS 19 on the first page. The program end date is important because it determines the period you can remain in the United States as a J-1 student. However, this date isn't set in stone. It can be updated during your program. The program end date is basically an estimation of how long it will take you to complete your program at a particular level. So for bachelor's or doctorate degrees, this is 5 years, and for masters, 2 years. However, in reality, students may take more or less time to complete their program, and it's possible we'll change your end date at some point. When we update the program end date, we issue a new 2019, which will show that new end date. If it seems like you are going to need extra semesters to complete your degree, you can request a program extension from the ISSO, and we'll extend your end date to the end of a future semester. You can submit the program extension e-form through the SciStart portal. Now, keep in mind that it's critical to submit the request before your current program end date expires. So we cannot extend the end date if it is in the past. Also, keep in mind that if you are subject to 212E and intend to submit a waiver, you should contact ISSO in advance. If you have already submitted a request for a waiver, then your DS 2019 cannot be extended further. In other cases, we might shorten the DS 2019 end date. So for undergraduate students, we shorten end dates when a student is approved for final semester, reduced course load, because this indicates that they are going to complete all requirements of their program in that semester. We also shorten the 2019 end date if we receive confirmation that a student has already completed their program and that was in a semester in the past. For masters and doctorate students, we might shorten the DS 2019 end date when a student schedules their oral defense with the graduate college. Now, it's important to note that your program completion and graduation are not necessarily the same thing. For graduates, your program end date depends on the date that you defend, but not on the date you graduate and receive your diploma. So it's not unusual for students to receive their diploma the semester after they have completed their program. Just be aware of the graduate college deadlines regarding graduation. Your program end date has an impact on your employment authorization. And if you have any on-campus employment, such as hourly paid work or assistantships, then you must stop working on or before the program end date on your DS 2019. If ISSO shortens your DS 2019 end date, we will also notify your on-campus employer so they're aware of your situation. Now, after your program end date, students can still receive authorization to work by using academic training. This must be approved by ISSO before the program end date. Academic training can start any time from the day after the DS 2019 end date to 30 days later, which will be the end of the grace period. After reaching the DS 2019 program end date, J-1 students are given a 30-day grace period where they really have two options available. The first option is to depart the country, and if you don't take any action after your program end date, you must leave the United States before the end of the 30-day period. If you don't depart before then, there could be potentially a negative impact on any return visits to the United States. However, there are several situations where you may extend your stay in the United States. If so, these actions must take place by the program end date. So one option is to consider matriculating to a higher education level. If you want to continue at Iowa State, you can reach out to ISSO and have a new DS-29 issued after you are admitted into your new program of study. Another option is that you can transfer your program to another school during your program. Students can also request academic training to take on employment related to your major after you have completed your program. Now, remember, these actions must take place before your program end date. We recommend that you contact ISSO in advance to discuss your plans as your program end date approaches. One last option is to change your status to another visa status if you're eligible. Changing statuses can be a complex process, so ISSO recommends finding a well-qualified immigration attorney to discuss the specifics of your particular situation.